Welcome to Mind Your Mental Health channel. This is our 10th episode. In the past 9 episodes, we were talking about mind. We were trying to explain in simple terms what is mind, where it is, and what it consists of, and also trying to explain how does it work. It's a very complex phenomenon. The mind is a very complex phenomenon. We are trying to make it as simple as possible. Last episode, I talked about Sigmund Freud's contribution to psychiatry and to the understanding of mind. I said we are going to discuss 2 of his concepts to make you understand about how the mind works, the dynamics of the mind or mental mechanisms. Last episode, I talked about conscious, preconscious and subconscious mind. How does it work and what it is? And I also told you that it is called topographical model, where regions or areas of mind Freud tried to explain. And in addition to topographical model, he also talked about structural model. All these models he proposed to explain the development of the personality. All his contribution together is called the psychoanalytical school or psychoanalysis. So today in this episode, we are going to talk about structural model of mind as proposed by Sigmund Freud. When he said structure, he talked about id, ego and superego. These are 3 structures of the mind or component of the mind. When I say consciousness, preconscious, subconscious or even ego, id, superego, these are all concepts, theories of Sigmund Freud. With his vast experience with the patient and his thinking power, and he was able to propose theories and which very simply explained the mind, made us understand the mind more clearly. If you ask me to show you where is consciousness, where is subconsciousness, or even where is id, where is ego, where is superego, because I called it a structural, I won't be able to show you that because it's all theoretical concepts. But it beautifully explains the way mind works. Okay, let's see what is the structural theory or structural model of mind. Freud said 3 structures in the mind: id, ego, superego. He said these 3 structures in the mind develop the personality. Depending on the interaction of these 3 structures, a person develops into what he is, and his behavior can be explained by these 3 structures. Again, when I say structures, I'm not talking about physical structure, I'm talking about a concept. Okay, let us see one by one what are these. Id is a basic drive. It's a very instinctual, fundamental part of the mind. It acts on 2 principles. One is pleasure principle, other one is immediate gratification. Let me explain. Freud said child is born with id. There is no ego or superego. It develops later on. I'll explain to you a little later. So child is born with id alone. So when the child is hungry, it starts crying immediately. 1 month old or 2 month old child starts crying immediately and it wants milk immediately. If you don't give the milk, it will cry more. And child does not know or does not realize that it is in a public place. Mother can't feed the child at that place. She needs to go somewhere and then feed the child. There are so many constraints for the mother, but for the child, it wants gratification immediately. It wants the pleasure of taking the milk. So those are the 2 principles. Pleasure principle, I want my hunger to be managed. I want milk immediately. It is immediate because immediate gratification is needed. So all of us have id, which drives us to seek pleasure and immediate gratification. Why id is needed? It is essential because it's a basic drive, it's an instinct which keeps the organism or the race alive. I said hunger and sexual impulses, sexual desires also a drive. Hunger keeps the organism alive. Sexual drive keeps the generations alive, keeps the race alive. So that's why both are needed. Both are essential basic functions which an organism need to fulfill. When I say organism, I'm talking about human being to animal kingdom, all the organisms. So this basic drive is essential. That's why it is there right from the birth. As the child grows older and older, it develops ego and superego. So to summarize, id is a basic drive. It's instinctual, and it works on two principles: pleasure principle. It wants the pleasure immediately, and immediate gratification. It wants the gratification. It wants to be done immediately, irrespective of anything else, irrespective of any consequence of that act. So that is id. All of us have that quality in us. You can imagine. I mean, you can think your own behavior and see, oh, that was id. Okay. So next comes the ego. Now, when I say ego, I'm talking about ego in a psychological meaning. So, ego is also, the word ego is also used in different connotation. But when I say ego in this channel, in this episode, I'm talking about psychological concept. So, ego is the one which works on reality principle. What it means? It means ego tells you what is what and what is the consequences. Child born with id but slowly develops ego as the child grows. As the child grows, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, it learns few things by experiencing pleasant or unpleasant experiences. Child touches a very hot surface and realizes it hurts. So next time it will not touch the hot surface. Once his nose is very hot, it won't touch. That is the learning. That is the ego. What ego tells you, if you do that, that is the consequences. So ego works on reality principle. It is the conscious level. It tells what is happening at that point in time, here and now. What are the consequences of your act? So ego is the one which modulates the id. So id wants something immediately. And if I want to do that, there is a consequence, negative consequence to that. Then my ego tells, don't do that. You might like it, it's very nice, but don't do that. Suppose I go for a party, I find something very attractive on the table, some nice jewelry or something, and I have a desire for jewelry, collecting jewelry. Immediately I think, shall I take it away? That is id. Makes me work on pleasure principle. Oh, nice, lovely jewelry. Why should I leave it here? I can take it away. But ego tells you that leads to consequences. See, there are people around you. They are going to see that you're going to take it. So ego tells me the reality and then keeps me away from doing that particular act, which is an undesirable act. So that is ego. Ego tells you what are the consequences, what is happening in the current situation and the reality. So you are in touch with the reality when the ego is working at the top level. The third concept or third structure is superego. There are certain things we develop or we learn as we grow from childhood to adolescent to adulthood. There are many other factors interplay. Now we interact with the parents, we learn certain things. We go to school, interact with teachers, we learn something. We interact with siblings, we interact with friends, classmates. There are many learnings going on as we grow. There are certain learning which is what we call moralistic learning. Certain moral values also we learn through this process. These moral values develop as we grow further and further. It tells you what is right and what is wrong. It judges and it says this is something we should not be doing. Even though if I have means to do it, I should not do it because it is not the right thing. It is a moral values what we develop. The moral values a child develops as it grows from the parents, from the education or from the social milieu and from the society and from the culture. There are different driving forces which teaches a person moral value. That's why the moral value depends on the society the person is in or in the culture where the person is. Culture to culture, some of the moral values can change. But it depends on the society and the culture in which the person grows or develops. So we have id, we have ego, we have superego. So id is the basic desire, wants you to achieve, perform, take it away, or attain it. So that is a kind of a power. It's a psychological energy which is needed. At the same time, it needs to be controlled. Otherwise, we might be doing something which is wrong. So you need something to control the id. So there comes ego. Ego tells id what is the consequences, what will happen. Still, if the id is powerful, it can overcome the ego and then do it. I saw that jewelry, I wanted to take it, but my mind, part of mind, that is id, tells me it is wrong to do it. You will have a consequences. It tells me you will get a consequence of that. It's a public place, everybody is looking, and you can't just go and take it away. It's somebody else, somebody kept it there, they'll come and take it away. So you can't touch it. If I listen to ego, I'll go away. If I don't, if my id becomes overpowering, I might go and take it away, irrespective of the consequences. I might get away with it or I'll get punished. So ego has some control over the id, but ego also needs more control, more support. That's where the superego comes. So layer after layer. So id, ego, and superego. Superego is the one which tells a person what is right, what is wrong, what is moral, what is immoral. So it tells a person, you're from this background, you're holding this kind of a job, you come from this kind of educational background, all those things together, put together. How can you do that? That is the superego. Superego tells you what is right to do, what is wrong to do. So that is superego. So all these three minds work together. So I'll give another example. So we have a meeting. About 10 of us had a meeting in a high street, and then meeting got over. All of us are coming out of the office and then walking on the pavement. We're walking towards the car park. I was walking in the front. So as I walk, it's a high street on a pavement. Scene number one, there is nobody around the place. There is nobody there. And I see a very lovely diamond ring lying on the pavement. The moment I look at it, I feel like taking it away. Because it's a diamond ring, it's a very expensive thing, and I know the value of that, so I'm getting it easily. I need not spend a penny, I get this diamond ring, so I want to take it. So that is my id, which tells me take it. Okay, scene number two, the same pavement, same high street, walking down, I'm seeing a diamond ring lying on the pavement. But I also see a number of people walking around. And I also see a police officer about 1 or 2 yards away. Probably he's chatting with someone. And my id tells me, take it. It's a very expensive ring. You take it. But my ego tells me, you can't, because see, people around you, the moment you bend down and take it, they will notice that you are taking. They also know you didn't drop it. Somebody dropped it. So you can't take it away. And see, there is a policeman. You want to take a risk? No, you shouldn't. So you have consequences. Either you take it and give it to the policeman, say somebody has dropped it, or leave it and go. So that is the ego. It tells you the reality and tells you what to do, this or that, that's all. Don't do anything which is wrong. The same kind of situation, scene 3, where all my colleagues who were in the meeting have gone away. I'm walking down the high street alone. There's nobody around. So every shops are closing down. So I'm just walking alone. Then I see this ring, very expensive diamond ring on the pavement. So my id tells me, take it away. My ego tells me you'll have a consequences, but it tells the ego that there's nobody around, nobody's going to know. Take it. So it is very powerful. My superego tells me you can't do that. It says immoral activity. You can't aspire for others' object. It's amount to stealing somebody's object. You should, even if you take it, you should try to give it to the person who lost it, or put it through a channel where it can reach the person who lost it. But you can't take it home. You can't own it. That is superego. If I listen to superego and ego, I will walk away. Or I may take it and give to the lost object center or somewhere so that it reaches the right person. Or I might just leave it and walk away. So these are the three different scenes, same kind of a content, but my mind makes me think in three different ways. So Freud said all of us have all these three working all the time. Id, ego and superego works all the time. For in this example, all three structures of the mind, id, ego and superego, working within me. Some at the conscious level, some at the subconscious level, some at the preconscious level. They are all working together. Each is pulling me apart. Id is pulling me this side, ego is pulling me this side, superego is also trying to pull me this side. What do I do? If I take the ring and go home, I'm going to be very anxious. My superego will punish me. You are a most immoral man. How can you do that? You call yourself so and done this, that, and you have done this. You have belittled yourself. You have committed a crime. You have taken somebody's object. So I'm going to feel very miserable with all those superego and egos telling me this is what you are. Okay, if I don't take it, id is going to punish me. What fool you are. There is nobody there. If you don't take it, somebody else is going to take it. So you're a loser. You lost that diamond ring. So id is also punishing me. So either way, if I take it, if I don't take it, something is going to punish me. Either my id or my superego and ego is going to punish me. And that means all three components of the mind or structures of the mind in conflict. They are fighting with each other. What to do with this man? He's not listening to me. And this person says he's not listening to me. So that is what Freud called it as an intra-psychic conflict. So it's a conflict which happens within the mind, within the subconscious mind. And it can be very anxiety provoking. It can be very painful for the person. Imagine the two situations, what I said. I'm going to regret either way, if I take it, if I don't take it. So Freud also proposed some other theory, something else, which explained the conflict and how the conflict solved in a normal day-to-day life. He called it as a mental mechanism, and he called that as a defense mechanism. What he said is there is something in the mind which brings up a defense mechanism to manage this conflict. I need to go either way. Either I take it or leave it, or do something so that it reaches the proper person. So there are two options. Either option is going to give me conflict. So there is mechanism comes in, mental mechanism. Freud called it as a ego defense mechanism. It kind of defends the ego and superego. This mechanism tries to solve the conflict and makes me calm. Okay, how does it work? First, let me tell you what are these defense mechanisms. There are a number of defense mechanisms. Denial is one. Projection is another one. Rationalization is there. Sublimation, humor. There are a number of different mechanisms. As per the theories of psychoanalysis, we almost use every day these different mechanisms. Because all the time our ego, superego works on us. Okay, let's go back to the scene one, where I'm walking down the high street and on the pavement I see a ring. It tells me take it. The next scene, ego tells me don't take it because of consequences, and superego tells me it's immoral, don't do that, it is wrong, it's a crime. Then id is very powerful. I'm going to listen to the id. I'm going to take it. I also know it's going to be painful because my ego and superego tell me you're a wrong person. So then the defense mechanism called a rationalization comes in. I rationalize my act. I tell myself, okay, some poor soul has dropped it. And he would have walked away, he would have gone home or go to a different country or different county. We don't know how he's going to come and take it. It's almost evening, all the shops are closing down. So if I don't take it, somebody else is going to take it. My colleagues are coming after the meeting. I just walked fast, that's why I came early. But they're going to come and they're going to take it away. So anyway, it's not going to go to the owner again. So if it is not going to the owner, if it's going to go someone else, let me take it. If owner wants it, if it comes and asks me, I'll give it to him. Till that time I can hold it. So that is rationalization. We do it almost very often in our day-to-day life. We try to rationalize things which are painful to us. That is one defense mechanism. Another defense mechanism, what Freud said, is denial. We deny the factors. Now, denial is also sometimes can be protective. For example, I hear a news, very shocking news, somebody, a very close friend passed away in an accident, in a very bad accident. So somebody comes and tells me that news. I'm very attached to the friend. The moment I hear that, my defense, it's going to be shocking for me. It's going to be kind of a devastating for me. So what defense mechanism does is, it brings in the denial. I say, no, it can't be. I just saw him yesterday. He was fine. No, he is not the person who will get into accidents. No, I can't believe that. That's the immediate reaction. That kind of delays your kind of a grief which is going to come and hit you. So that is denial. In other words, pathological sense, alcohol dependence. Now, people who are dependent on alcohol use denial as one of the mechanisms. Their mind, their ego and superego will tell them, what you're doing is wrong. You're ruining yourself. Not only ruining yourself, you're ruining your family, and you become a burden to the society. Heart of heart, that person who drinks alcohol excessively at the dependent level, ruining himself, knows what he is doing is wrong. So you will also use the defense mechanism, the denial, stating that I am not as bad as him. I am still walking around. I am still able to do something. So I am not a very bad person. I am not a very bad alcoholic. If I want, I can stop at any time. Or they can use the mechanism called projection. They project alcohol problem to others. They say, my wife is always nagging. She's always picking up arguments and she's not caring for me. That's why I've gone to alcohol. So alcohol gives that solace for me. So it's a projection, your own defect, your own problem, you're projecting onto your wife. So we also use that very often, projecting our problem onto others and try to rationalize it. So denial, projection and rationalization. There are defense mechanisms which are healthy. There are defense mechanisms which are unhealthy or pathological. Sometimes a defense mechanism can act as a healthy defense mechanism or pathological defense mechanism. For example, the denial example, what I gave, when I hear a very shocking news, immediately defense mechanism, denial kicks in, reduces the impact, and then I cope with that. Same denial in alcohol dependent makes him deny the problem, not to realize the problem. So defense mechanism is another excellent concept given by Sigmund Freud, which explains our day-to-day life. So whatever I said today, whatever I said in this episode, ego, superego, defense mechanism, just think about it. What you have been using or what your friends have been using, observe people and see. Then you will understand how the mind works. It's a beautiful concept by Sigmund Freud. As I said, current scientific world, it may not have a very strong value because we don't have objective evidence. We can only theoretically formulate this. We can understand theoretically. When you want everything in black and white, you want us to show you what it is in black and white, the theories won't be able to do that. Theory makes you understand mind, these theories. So, in this episode, I talked about structural theories proposed by Sigmund Freud. I talked about id, ego, superego. I also talked about how all three kind of goes into conflict and which produce intrapsychic conflict, which can be very anxiety provoking. or it could be painful. And I also said how Freud brought in the concept of mental mechanism, defense mechanism, how we use defense mechanism to diffuse that conflict and make us more comfortable, rightly or wrongly. So last episode and this episode, we have covered two concepts of Sigmund Freud. There are hundreds of concepts. There are excellent scholars who have contributed to understanding of mind. So as I said, I only selected 3 of them to explain very simple terms. In the next episode, I am going to talk about what is called transactional analysis. Simply, it's called as TA by Eric Berne. It's another excellent concept which will make us understand the communication, relationship, all those things. I will explain about it in the next episode. See you soon. Thank you for being with us. Bye.